Hey, what up? It's Tampa Brad, back at you with law number 26 of the 48 Laws of Power. We're in a Starbucks, so I'm not going to yell in this one, hopefully. Law number 26 is keep your hands clean. So what this law means is, as a person of power or influence, it is not a good idea to be blunt or crude or forceful. It's not a good idea to use force versus power, right? So that's a line that's from a book called Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. Really good book. And what that means is, force is when you have to make something happen, and power is when you allow something to happen. So how that plays into this law and the way I see it is, and this is a very interpretive law, so if you want to know the actual content of the chapter, definitely go and read it. I would highly recommend the chapter. It's very illustrative, but I see a lot of the examples that the author uses as extremely outdated, and frankly, I don't think that they would work in a 2020 scenario. We're like 3 days away from 2020, so we got to be ready for the new decade. But what the author talks about in this chapter is how people of power for centuries have used like a scapegoat or a cat's paw as someone to either pawn off blame to, or someone to do their dirty work for them. So you might be tempted to think that what the author's saying is, in 2020, if you have to say fire an employee, if I have to fire Apollo, for example, I need to have someone else do it. He's like crying in the background. It's his worst nightmare. So you might think that it would mean, have someone else go fire Apollo for you. But that's not what it actually means, because in that instance, it's so ham-fisted and it's such a cliche to have someone else literally do your dirty work for you, like a pawn or a cat's paw, that it really won't work, and it'll be very obvious and very trite and very contrived that you're doing that, and people will see through it instantly. But what I found to be extremely successful, and this is from a little bit of sales training and a little bit of social dynamics training, is that what you can do is, instead of using another person to do an unpleasant task or to give an unpleasant message to someone, you can use the person that you're delivering the message to themselves. So what does that mean? What do you mean you can just telepathically communicate it to them? No. What I mean is, you can use their own understanding of what's going on in the situation to talk themselves into understanding the message with just a couple leading questions. So I can think of a very recent example of this in my own life, where somebody who's in a business organization that I'm in asked me about my Instagram. And so they're like, we're thinking about our brand, and you're a leader in our organization, so we're looking at branding, and how does your Instagram and the stuff you post on there play into your personal brand, Brad? And so it caught me off guard, because I didn't have a prepared answer for that. So my floundering to come up with an answer was absolutely an extremely weak position to be coming from in order to justify, if you haven't followed me on Instagram, definitely follow me there. It's at Tim Brad. I've toned it down a little bit. I've had to archive a couple posts, but DM me and I'll send you what the posts were. I'm happy to share. But the point is, the position that I was put in having to justify myself, even though I wasn't told, hey, justify your position, it was just put in a question, which is completely innocent. It's just, how do you think about your personal brand on Instagram, Brad? And because I didn't have a prepared answer, I was absolutely put on the defensive and really probably gave more than I definitely needed to. And it is what it is. I accept it, well played. But it absolutely is a very good example, just from my own life, and it's very visceral and tangible to me, but it's a very good example for you to take as what to do if you're trying to get someone to do something that is a distasteful thing, and you don't want to force them to do it. That's never what you want to do. That's not a person of power doesn't ever force anyone to do anything. They get them to do it by just sheer understanding. that down and being able to hold that tension and allow other people to talk themselves into something is an extremely valuable skill and extremely monetizable skill. You can make a lot of money doing that, especially if you sell something. And realistically, we all sell something, right? So you can make money in it no matter what. And so you need to capitalize on this phenomenon, and this may change. You know, this may change over time to where people understand that if they're being asked a question, they just immediately, you know, volley it right back with something that allows them to maintain their power position. And this is always a dynamic that people are going to be going back and forth on. It's going to be people are trying to sell using psychology, and people are using psychology to not be sold. So it's a game of cat and mouse. But for the position we're in right now in 2020, if you allow other people to talk themselves into doing something, you allow them to be your own cat spot to get them to do something, that's extremely powerful. That is applying this law correctly in the time that we're actually in. And I look forward to hearing about it working for people. This is a really tactical video. I'm gonna try to promote the crap out of this on my Instagram and really try to get people to watch it, because if you understand the nuance of what I just said there, in getting people to be the cat's paw, to do what you want them to do, the person will be the cat's paw in manipulating. The people will manipulate themselves. And I don't mean manipulate in a bad way, but the people will either talk themselves in or out of whatever you want them to do, if you allow them the space and hold the tension long enough for them to do it. So work on that, work on holding tension. Don't be afraid of awkward silences. Awkward silences are some of the most valuable things that you can cultivate, and if you can do it proactively and get it to where you're doing it in a way that's allowing, you know, it's in a situation where it's not actually awkward, it's just uncomfortable because it's very obvious what both parties want and one person is going to cave to the other, you'll be stunned at the results you're able to achieve. So apply that, especially if you're in sales. Thank you for watching. If you're not already, follow me on Instagram. It's @TampaBrad. And then also hit the subscribe button on this channel, hit the bell next to it so you get notified when we're dropping the rest of these 48 Laws of Power. We're on 28, we're on 26, so we have 22 left. So 22 more. We are on the home stretch here, and we're cranking them out super fast. So if you don't hit the bell, you're not gonna get notified when we're dropping vids. We also have some one-off vids that we're going in between them. So really a lot of high value shit coming at you soon. I'll talk to you very soon. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your attention. Peace.